So you're thinking about moving to Irving, Texas, but you want to know the pros and cons before you move to Irving, Texas. Well, in this video, that's exactly what we're going to talk about because Irving is one of the most popular suburbs in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's centrally located, so there's lots of good things about Irving, but there's a couple of bad things as well that you definitely want to stick around till the end and hear for yourself, and we're going to get after it right now. Hey, if this is your first time on the channel and you want to know everything there is about living in Dallas, Texas, or even Irving, like we're talking about today, then subscribe below, tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to learn about the current market in Dallas and the surrounding areas. And my name is Levi, and the team and I, we get emails, calls, and text every single day of people just like you, and you, and you, and you, looking to make their move to Dallas. We absolutely love it. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, just give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. Happy to help you make a smooth move to Dallas. And as we mentioned, we are talking about Irving, Texas today. It is one of the most popular suburbs in Dallas-Fort Worth. And rightfully so, because the first good thing about Irving, it is pretty centrally located. So it is just south of the airport. So that would be another pro to Irving as well. If you're a regular traveler, whether business or pleasure, then Irving, you're gonna have the shortest commute to the airport. I mean, it is literally within a few miles, depending on where you live at exactly in Irving. So this is one of those things where your friends and family won't mind so much picking you up or dropping you off at the airport. That's always a little bit of an area of contention, right? Whenever you're traveling, if someone's gonna actually come or want to pick you up or drop you off. Unless, they just love you unconditionally, then of course it's never a problem, no matter how far you live. But no, really, Irving is centrally located. It's on the Dallas side, but still, Fort Worth is just a hop, skip, and a jump away. And then of course, Dallas is right there as well. And again, just south of the airport makes it really a great spot. But also, Irving is a pretty good job market and area. So there's a lot of Fortune 500 companies in Irving, such as Exxon, Kimberly-Clark, and several other Fortune 500 companies. Also, it's kind of one of the tech hubs, you could say, of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So if you're in the tech industry, there's a lot of engineering jobs, computer engineering, software companies, things like that, that are in the Irving area. It's got a pretty strong job market, low unemployment rate, so it's definitely an area you'll want to check out. If you're going to be coming to Dallas and looking to start over or start a new job, then Irving is going to be a great location. You might want to check about what's available with the companies that are in the Irving area, so definitely keep that on the list. So there's also a lot of gated communities and golf courses in the Irving area as well. So let's say that would be pro number 3, right? So Irving used to be where the old Dallas Cowboys Stadium was. So of course, when you have the Dallas Cowboys in the area, then you have several neighborhoods around there that many of them used to live in because, of course, they wanted to be close to the stadium, close to the practice area, and also the games, be able to have a short commute home. So Irving had some neighborhoods that used to house some of the old Dallas Cowboys players. Not so much anymore. They've moved on to bigger and better, especially since the new stadium is now in Arlington. Places like South Lake, of course, have become a little bit more prominent. So, but Irving still has a lot of gated communities, several golf courses. I mean, they have parks, hiking trails, there is really a lot of outdoor activities in the Irving area. So that's, if you're the outdoorsy type, you'll definitely want to keep it on the list. And actually, we have a full vlog tour on Irving. And one of the things is I start out in the city center of the downtown area, and it is, they say it was modeled after kind of like the streets of Venice, the canals. I mean, it doesn't exactly have the exact same feel and look, but there are some gondolas down there. There are some people in their Italian outfits and hats and things like that on the gondolas, and you can get on some of those rides, gondolas, boats, whatever they are. You can actually get on some of those and go in and out of the canals. So it's situated the city center of Irving right there, and really Las Colinas is right around Lake Caroline, which is, you know, really nice lake right in the center of Las Colinas. They got a lot of shops, restaurants, and bars that are surrounding that area. And on top of that, some walking areas. And then of course you can get out there with paddle boards and gondolas and things like that. So there's a lot of activities you can do on or around Lake Caroline and Irving. So you definitely want to check that out as well. You have in Irving as well, you have like the Toyota Music Factory, Lake Caroline again, and then also just other, you're very close proximity to really everything. If you want to jump to downtown Dallas, you're really only about 20 minutes away. And if you go down 35, then you've got a pretty good shot on to get right down to Victory Park. So if you want to see the Dallas Mavericks or the Dallas Stars, that's really a hop, skip, and a jump away, not too far. And then again, you've got really also well known in Irving is affordable housing, at least for right now. So that's something else that you want to keep an eye out for. If you're looking for something that's not as expensive as you know, downtown Dallas or even Frisco or Plano, then Irving is going to be a great alternative because there are lower housing prices there for the time being. Now we have seen a tremendous amount of influx coming in, of course, from California, New York, Illinois, Washington State, you know, those areas as well. So that is starting to increase the prices slightly there in the Irving area. But really what we're seeing mostly is an increase in demand. So really homes right now are still pretty priced accordingly. However, because there are so many buyers on the market, then you're having multiple offers and getting into situations where homes can go for $10,000 to $20,000 or $30,000 over, and that's just because people are trying to win that bid. So it doesn't necessarily mean the house is overpriced. It means that somebody's willing to pay over the house, the correct house price. Now, if you contact myself and our team, we have been pretty good so far about getting homes at or around list price. So, you know, that does take a lot of work and relationships offline to be able to do that. It's not the case every time, but we have been able to secure some deals. Also still working in the new construction space as well. But really, that's the key aspect on pre-existing homes is you are likely going to get into a multiple offer situation. And so, you know, paying $10,000, $20,000 or $30,000 over asking price is not the ideal situation. It's not what we want for our clients either. So we are going to do our best. We have conversations offline. We have relationships a lot with listing agents. And then even if we don't though, we really take the time to reach out to them, to get to know them, and then, you know, try to do the best we can and work that deal offline. On top of that, the lending team that we work with is tremendous, and they will actually call on your behalf as well. They'll call the listing agent and say, hey, Joe and Susie are great candidates. We've already vetted them. We've already pre-approved them. We've looked through everything. Even though we just have a pre-approval, they still look extremely solid. We don't see any issues coming up in getting their loan done. We could even close early if possible. And we think they are a very strong candidate. And so we don't foresee any issues. Now that phone call in itself will really do you some justice. So that's why we prefer to at least check with our lending partner, because they are such a great team and they're really solid. We understand you may already have a pre-approval coming from your state. What you just want to be sure is that your lender is licensed in Texas, number one. But number two, a local lender in Texas is going to appear more strong as an offer, all right? So especially coming from a private lending company that has a strong reputation. That is really critical, and that's exactly what we have in the team that we partner with. So that's something that you'll definitely want to keep in mind. And we say, hey, even if you've got that pre-approval, check with us. Let's do a second opinion. That way, you know, at least you have options. Who knows, you know, they might offer you something better or get you a better rate. So it never hurts to check, right? So with that as well, Irving is known as one of the most, actually the number 2 most diverse suburb in all of Dallas-Fort Worth. It's actually one of the most diverse cities in all of the US as well. So if you're looking for culture and you're looking for diversity, then Irving is definitely the place to be. All right, so what are some of the downsides to Irving? And these came straight from one of our team members who absolutely loves Irving and the Las Colinas area. So this is the thing, I think if you always talk to a local resident, someone who's spent the time there, and especially someone who absolutely loves it, whenever they tell you the downside, that's always a good thing to know, right? Because it's always interesting to hear their perspective. So from one of our very own team members that has lived there many, many years, loves Irving, and here's what they would say are the downsides to Irving, is that there is a lack of high-end retail or shopping. So if that's something that you like to do on a regular basis, and of course that is somewhat expected with the lower cost of living, the lower home prices in that area, it doesn't really garner the attention of high-end retailers. So if that's something you're looking for, you're going to need to venture on to South Lake or downtown Dallas or downtown Fort Worth, or up to Frisco as well, Frisco Plano. You could even go over to Flower Mound probably. There's some high-end shopping there, just on the other side. But you know, South Lake is probably a close option for you on the high-end shopping. So also what they would say is a developing school system. So Irving, the public school system is not well known for being A-rated. It's runs more in the B's. So which is not bad, and that's something else you definitely want to check out. Make sure you understand exactly what those schools are being rated for, because you might find, even if it's rated at a 7 or an 8 or a 6, I mean, you look at the individual scores that make up that 7, because if it ranks high, if it ranks in the 90s or close to the top for test scores and or attendance or things like that, and those are the things that are most important to you versus some of the other scores that are included in there, then just make sure you check out everything individually. So as long as it meets your needs, just because the school has a 7 rating or so doesn't necessarily make it a bad school. But at the same time, just make sure you understand what goes into that rating so that you can make a decision if that's something that you want to be in that area, especially that school. And of course, different schools, even throughout Irving, are going to have different ratings, so you can always check. And we can also do home searches based on a school district as well. So if that's something that is very important to you and you want to be in that area, then we can set up a home search for you based on that school district, so we can just be extremely concentrated and narrow in what we're trying to find for you, especially if you want to stay within a certain school district. So also, they would say lack of fine dining. So again, with the lower cost of living and home prices, doesn't garner a lot of fine dining, and probably a lot of that has moved out since the Cowboy Stadium shifted away, which was quite some time ago, well over a decade ago that the Cowboy Stadium moved out of there. So that's probably when a lot of those finer restaurants and areas moved along with them. Either they shifted or moved out altogether. And then on top of that, with coronavirus last year and everything, that probably got rid of several more. So that's something that would be a concern if that's what you like. But again, you got South Lake down the street, Frisco, Plano not too far. So all great options, close proximity to get to if you want to enjoy your fine dining experience. But also, their concern too is getting priced out, where even though Irving is one of the most affordable suburbs, that it's starting to make a change, right? It's one of the closest suburbs, especially centrally located by the airport, makes it extremely desirable based on location. So now things are starting to move in there and starting to rebuild, you could say. And the other aspect is that the downside to Irving is there are a lot of older homes. There's not really a lot of new construction communities going in there because it's already very well established. So therefore, homes are either getting torn down and rebuilt, or they're going to be in need of some usually major updates or remodel. Even some of the nicer ones on the golf courses, a lot of those were put in the 80s and 90s. So that's something that 80s and 90s were very well known for their cookie cutter type of home. Not a lot of individuality, you could say, when in those decades. It was more about just let's get out as many houses as possible and save cost on the same floor plan and design everywhere. So they're likely going to be in need of updates if you buy some homes there. We actually just had a client that bought one there, and sure enough, they turn around and put in about $50,000 in updates. So even though you can still find some good pricing on homes, you got to consider what's going to fit your taste and what's going to work within your budget, especially if you're looking to do a renovation project. Also, one of their major complaints is there's a significant amount of liquor stores. And we all know that, well, hey, that's probably a good thing for convenience, especially if you enjoy your liquor, your wine. But at the same time, we know liquor stores are not the best hangouts, you could say, in those areas. So that's something to keep an eye out. Of course, you're probably going to have several of your high-end liquor stores, or probably in strip malls where there's probably not as many problems, but usually the individually owned or the ones just close to the gas station, something like that, can garner some issues as far as more calls to the area. So just something to keep in mind. And then also, Irving has a lot more renters than owners. So, it's a place where people come, usually settle in temporarily, and then they look to find housing elsewhere. So it's more renters than owners. So again, if you're in communities as well, you'll probably find several renters in that community, rather than being in a majority of owned. But you'll find those communities as well where the majority in those certain communities will have homeowners versus renters. Usually and especially if you get into gated communities, they probably have some covenants or restrictions, or the HOA probably limiting the amount. And so even if there are some renters in there, they could limit the total amount, so it could not exceed a certain percentage. Just something to keep in mind there as well. So those are just some of the pros and cons of living in Irving, Texas. We hope you found this helpful. And if you used to live in Irving, or you live in Irving now, please feel free to comment below. Let us know what you like or what you don't like about Irving. That definitely helps everyone out quite a bit. But what you can do, what really helps us out the most, if you want to watch another video, definitely check out our full vlog on Irving, or even our Irving explained video where we get on the map and show you around town. But if you're considering Irving, those are two great videos that if you haven't watched already, you'll definitely want to check out after this video. So again, whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, just give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. We're happy to help you make a smooth move to Dallas. And until next time, well, we hope to see you around town.